Rik Clay, teórico sobre la conspiración, encontrado muerto. Lo primero que debo aclarar es que este chico que descubrió tanta información oculta apareció muerto supuestamente por causa de una afección suprarrenal, lo que lo llevó a la tan atroz pérdida de su vida. Sin embargo, muchos dicen que fue suicidio, pero todo parece apuntar a que no fue esa la verdadera causa de su muerte. Al parecer fue silenciado por todo lo que sabía y próximamente iba a revelar en su blog. Cuando una gran fuerza y carácter fallece, los primeros efectos son devastadores. En un primer momento que llorar la pérdida, e incluso reproches a ti mismo. Entonces, a medida que pasa el tiempo, mirar hacia el futuro, centrándose en los elementos positivos. ¿Qué hemos perdido? ¿Qué podemos aprender? Richard John Clay, nacido el 05 de agosto 1982 en Scunthorpe, Reino Unido, fue un músico, diseñador gráfico, diseñador web, escritor, investigador y el genio carismático cuya misión era llevar la justicia, la abundancia y la alegría a todos los seres humanos. En la escuela en Scunthorpe logró las mejores calificaciones en casi todo lo que hizo. Fue durante este tiempo, mientras que el estudio de su a los niveles, que Rik encontró su pasión por la música. Asistir a la Universidad Metropolitana de Leeds desde 2001 hasta 2004, graduándose con un 1-2 grados en la tecnología multimedia. Rik posteriormente pasó a trabajar en el diseño gráfico /web para un número de empresas. En julio de 2006 Rik conoció a su compañero de vida de Mick Bullock y juntos comenzaron una campaña de intensificación de los viajes y la investigación. Él desarrolló intereses en un gran número de campos tan fascinantes como los círculos de los cultivos y la geometría sagrada, el reiki y el chamanismo, la investigación de energía libre, la mitología antigua y piramidología, la conciencia planetaria y la noosfera, la teoría de la reencarnación de 2012 y los mayas, la precesión de los equinoccios, talismanes, la sincronicidad, telepatía, la teoría holográfica universal, y todas las cosas esotéricas. Entre septiembre de 2006 y mayo de 2008 su viaje lo llevó a España, Italia, Egipto, Malta, Gales, Polonia, Holanda, Francia y México. La extrema riqueza de la información y la sabiduría que se produjo precipitó la mente cósmica blog, lo que permitió Rik para difundir sus conocimientos y hallazgos a las personas en todo el mundo. Después de 3 meses, el blog ha atraído a un público regular de más de 30.000 personas y su creciente popularidad le llevó a dar entrevistas sobre la red radio de Hielo Creaciones. Por desgracia para todos nosotros, la velocidad pura y la intensidad de la investigación con el tiempo le llevó a experimentar un episodio repentino interno que despojado de su energía de limitación y comprensión. Un día menos de 11 semanas después, el 28 de agosto de 2008, a la edad de 26 años, Rik puso fin a su propia vida en Rik Clay. Aunque realmente nunca se sabe lo que pasó Rik a su decisión final, pero las personas más cercanas a él han sido capaces de reunir algunas piezas del rompecabezas que ayudan a comprender lo que su mente estaba descubriendo. Las cenizas fueron esparcidas sobre Rik Claymore, con vistas a la ciudad por encima de Rocky Valley, en la red 126-464 Ref. Descanse en paz. Mi sincero pésame para su familia y amigos. En un dramático final para una historia inquietante, Rik Clay, un joven buscador dentro del mare magnum de conspiraciones varias, simbología y sincromisticismo en especial, ha dado fin a su corta vida. Su muerte también ha sido confirmada en un grupo de Facebook, aunque allí no hacen mención al suicidio. Después de haber dado una interesante y lúcida entrevista hace 2 meses, el blog de Rik desapareció súbitamente de la red. Había sufrido un choque de adrenalina debido a toda la atención que había recibido tras la entrevista, según su padre. Esto le pareció muy raro a mucha gente, de hecho se habló largo y tendido de la cuestión en muchos foros conspiranoicos en inglés, como el de Agobe Top Secret, el de Ike o Godlike Productions. Cabe señalar también que durante la entrevista él parecía gozar de un estado mental saludable. ¿Lo que sucedió? Realmente tal vez no se llegue a saber por el momento, pero la pregunta perdurará por el tiempo, si suicidio, o fue realmente silenciado, porque iba en dirección correcta, y estaba cerca de la verdad.
Clay from the Cosmic Mind blog. He's dead now. He came out saying that he committed suicide, which is a complete farce. There's no way that he committed suicide. He came out on a radio interview at Red Ice Creations for 4 hours talking about just this blue beam, the fake alien invasion in 2012. The symbolic research that Rik Clay did into the Olympics, he narrowed it right down to the 2012 London Olympics. And just a few days after he did this radio interview, his blog was shut down. He stopped posting to all his forums. His friends couldn't find him. We all were trying to get a hold of him on the Ike forums. Nobody could. And then now he committed suicide.
Do you hear voices also? Do you hear voices also?
The people that are putting out this propaganda, the truth movement about 9/11, are the ones that attacked us on 9/11. Why? Don't you know their phrase? Order out of chaos. They want chaos. They don't want you to have a solution. No, no, no. They don't want you to be able to unify. They just want you to rise up, like chickens with their heads cut off, so that there is chaos or anarchy. They want you to rise up. Nobody's solving anything. It's just a bunch of propaganda bullshit about 9/11. People send emails to each other and talk about it all the time, but nobody's doing anything. They need chaos for order. These people have a history of pointing their fingers at themselves. They did it when they switched from dictatorship to hidden hand. They're doing it now. They're exposing what's happened on 9/11 through these fake underground truth movements. It's because you're like a chess player that's thinking 3 moves ahead, and you're playing somebody that's able to think 30 moves ahead. So you catch their bishop in 5 moves and say, "Ha, I got your bishop." And they say, "Ha, yeah, I know you did, and I knew you would, and in exactly 5 moves." And then 3.5 minutes later, checkmate.
Do you hear voices also? Do you hear voices also?
It could very well be that Christianity and a lot of these religions were designed, their very purpose, thinking this many moves ahead, designed to fail. How? Why? Well, if they steal the teachings of Christ and then create this Jesus deity, this Trinity, which isn't what it was, then point their fingers at themselves like they always do, expose the Babylonian symbolism, the satanic symbolism of the religions they created. They could do that in hopes to make you abandon all Christ's teachings as well, do you see? If you don't know that they stole those teachings, then you'll think that they created those teachings. They expose the deity as symbolism, and then everybody will have their big sigh of relief. Oh, we don't have to be good. We don't have to follow any of that. You see, the ultimate last-ditch attempt to discredit Christ. Why? That opens the door for the New World religion of sorcery, or Satanism, for the utopia. It has to be that, because there's no way these people doing what they're doing could have given the metaphors that Christ gave to create some symbolic deity. The two wouldn't go hand in hand. So, it really, from what I've been learning, what I've seen, they stole his teachings to draw people into both Christianity and Satanism. Then they're going to point the finger at the symbolism of Christianity and other religions so that people release all of this thinking it was a fraud for the final entrapment. It's very important that you stay balanced. The primary foundation of what you are is love, and that's what they don't want you to know. And the easiest way to do that is to come in the name of love and slowly tear you away from it, redefine it, to ensnare you in the web.
Your voice off. This is a dollar bill, and on the back of the dollar bill there's a pyramid with one eye. Now, the one eye is the sun god Re. This is the Masonic god. If you look, you'll see the pyramid is built except for the top. The eye is suspended above the top. It hasn't come down yet. Because they believe until they've finished the Masonic project, which is what they say on the bottom, Novus Ordo Seclorum, and then Annuetta Chapters, he is pleased with our project. In other words, the God they believe in is pleased with our project. What is the project? The project is literally the secularization of the world. To completely strip the world from religious beliefs. This is the project, and that is why it is called Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new secular or worldly order.
Following that, I started getting these weird occurrences with the number 1111. I don't know if do you know, have you looked into much with the 1111 yourself? Do you know about it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, to set the groundwork for where I'm coming from, obviously I've got a few facts here that I'd just like to say, because obviously it's the basis for a lot of my work.
Yeah, sure.
And obviously this number, this 1111 is, it seems to work itself into a lot of things. I mean, predominantly the first thing is on the 11th of August 1999 at 11:11 a.m. there was a total solar eclipse that was observed through Europe. And on the end date, December 21st, 2012, the end date of the main calendar, the winter solstice, which is when the calendar ends, is at 11:11 a.m.
So I've heard,
so obviously, so we've got this effect where the universe is ringing these numbers at us, in accordance to consciousness and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you look at it in an astrological sense, with the precession of the equinoxes and the 26,000-year cycle of the Earth wobbling through the 12 signs of the zodiac, we're said to be moving into the new age of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the 11th astrological sign. And so, getting further into it, you look at the numbers of 2112, 2012, and you add all those numbers up, and you get an 11. and then you look into the sun, for instance, and the sunspot cycle, so 11 years, and basically everything that you can just keep finding these 11 sort of things, and you could argue that, are you looking for them? But basically, when it's that amount of things within the universe, it's not like I'm looking for them because they are there.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. And so then you like start moving into the numerology of it. And for instance, if you get 1111 and you multiply it by 1111, you get the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is a pyramid. Okay, so you've got a pyramid numerology that you can get out of the 1111.
Backtrack on that a little bit and take it a little bit slower for us again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you've got the time code 1111 and you multiply it by the same thing, so 1111 times 1111, you get the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
So if you imagine that as a visual, you've got a pyramid.
So one step up, that's number 1. Then we have 2, that's 2 steps up. Is that what you're going at here?
Yeah. So essentially, like, because you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, that on a graph.
Right.
On an X and Y, you'd have a pyramid.
Interesting.
And the same decreases, so if you've got 111, you times it by 111, you get 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. You get a pyramid, whichever way you look at it, anything with a base of 1.
Interesting.
And so then, if you look at the 11 itself, and in binary, an 11 stands for a 3. So obviously you've got a trinity out of it. Do you know what I mean? So if you were to convert to binary, it would mean it'd be 3. So essentially, then if you look at this idea of the trinity with it, you know 33rd degree Masons and the number 33 that goes around. Obviously, if you turn that into the trinity and you divide 33 by 3, you get 11.
That's interesting.
So you start like seeing these 11s, as I'm saying. So then you move on to recent events and you get to September the 11th, 2001, right? And you realise that the building was stood like an 11. The 2 towers stood like an 11.
Indeed.
And then you've got 9 plus 1, which is 11. And then you realise that September the 11th was 111 days until the end of the year. And then you start thinking about the first plane that hit the World Trade Center, and it was Flight 11.
There you go, yeah.
Right, and the total number of crew on Flight 11 was 11. And then you look into it further, and the New York State was the 11th state of the US Constitution. Right, and so then you start thinking about where September the 11th stands in year, as far as years are concerned. And September the 11th, 2001 stands 11 years from 2012. Right. And there's an author called Jose Arguelles. He wrote that from 1992 to 2012 would be in a period of May and no time, the time of no time, which was a transition of the ages kind of period in which, basically world disasters and tension would be on the up and rise constantly. And this period of no time was 1992 to 2012. And so 9/11 in September the 11th, 2001 was 9 years from the start of no time, 11 years till the end of no time. So, synchronistically, it was placed bang on where, it should have been. So then you start thinking about, was 9/11 an event that was either, was it, as Jose Arguelles would put it, was it an inevitable event, inevitable event? Was it designed by the universe for it to happen as it did? You look into it further, and World Trade Center commenced building in 1966 and finished building it in 1977. So it took 11 years to create as well. So you can move on from that and forget all that for the time being, and then you can get to September the 11th in history. And on September the 11th, 1990, at 9:09 p.m., that's 11 years prior to 9/11, George Bush Sr. made his very first speech entitled "Towards a New World Order" in the UN, at the UN. So this was 11 years prior. And then if you take that back 60 years, so you go back to September the 11th, 1941, you'll realise that 60 years to 9/11, that was when the soil was broken for the Pentagon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you've got this date, September the 11th, again running through this kind of, the nasty war machine of America, if you want to call it that.
Exactly.
And so then basically there's something that happened much further back in time than that, and there's a book written in 1981, and it was called The Birth of Christ Recalculated, and it was written by a guy called Ernest L. Martin, and he claims to have calculated the exact date of Jesus Christ's birth date based on celestial charts for that era.
Yeah.
Basically, he's worked out with the famous Star of Bethlehem, which was, he worked out that essentially Jesus Christ was born on September the 11th, 3 BC. And this book was released in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got another date there.
And I think that is, sorry to interrupt there, but I think that's actually a key area to why we potentially are seeing so many things oriented around the 9 and the 11 September.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, when it comes into other significant events, for instance, when you think about America and NASA and stuff, the very first shuttle that got to the moon was Apollo 11.
Yeah, there you go.
And then, for instance, in Great Britain, I'm sure I think it's celebrated around the world actually, but on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we celebrate Remembrance Day, in which we honour our war dead, but it's on an 11/11, and it's basically the Queen and a load of other people taking poppies to a cenotaph, which is an obelisk essentially.
Yeah.
So, little strange events going on all over the place.
Indeed.
I mean, talking about the Queen moving into royalty, and this is where I'll lead much deeper into royalty later on. But basically, if you look into the history of the word crown and the royal crown, the word crown was derived from Anglo-French word called couronne, which is derived from Latin. But the year that the word crown, was first established was in the year 1111.
Really? That's interesting.
Right. So,
wow.
You can't just say that these are coincidences. All of these things that are kind of connected up. And I get to a point where, at first I thought there were coincidences, but then you think, what is this thing called chance? Yeah. What is it?
Indeed.
So anyhow, that's the groundwork for 11. And then this is where I'd started seeing this time code 1111 on clocks and stuff, and this is when I started getting this flood of information. I don't know where I've been receiving it from, but I've been receiving it from somewhere recently. I don't know what it's all about, to be honest. But basically, sorry.
No. I just wanted to say it's interesting, and to some extent, I think that this is in a way information that wants to get out. I think it's kind of a self-containing awareness within itself, meaning that it is trying to reach out and teach us how things are interconnected. I think that numerology and so-called coincidence or meaningful coincidence, synchronicity, is a perfect way to demonstrate to us that everything is interconnected. And I think that there are so many levels to all of this. So what we're beginning to discover are some of the most, in a way, actually obvious and very clear signs of this. But I would imagine that this is something that actually runs throughout exactly everything. If you have, basically the amount of time to study something or look at it in close enough detail.
Exactly, I mean, the thing with all the 11s for me is essentially, I come from the viewpoint, I believe in a mind before matter universe. Yeah. Everything stems from consciousness. Consciousness precipitates matter, not the other way around, as scientists would have you believe it. Yeah. And I mean, the way that I can, kind of prove that to myself and hopefully to others is that, I don't mean to be crude about this, but when, for instance, a man is sleeping and he has an orgasm in the middle of the night, right, the process that has created that is not any physical action. It's all stemmed from thought. Yeah. And so if you think about that, then obviously that thought has then created the ability to create life.
That's right.
If you understand where I'm coming from.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Exactly. It's a very good point.
That for me is the proof that everything is a mind before matter universe. You can create life with thought. Yeah. So that means that everything that you're looking at essentially is consciousness. And that's my way of that's where I come from with a lot of this. And given the 11s, connected with the Pentagon and connected with the 9/11 World Trade Center disaster and everything, that to me is indicative of someone else trying to hijack consciousness. I don't know what it is, but for me there seems to be some kind of other side of things that are hijacking this number for themselves.
Dato curioso, la revolución que han sucedido en el mundo árabe, han tomado fuerza, en el año 2011, y otro dato curioso, que os va a sorprender aún más, recuerdan que todo el mundo pensaba que el jueves 10 de febrero, del año 2011 el presidente de Egipto, Hosni Mubarak iba a hacer su dimisión pública. Y no fue así, su dimisión fue al día siguiente, viernes 11 de febrero del año 2011, y el mismo año 2011, el presidente de Túnez Ben Ali, ha abandonado el país ante la imposibilidad de frenar las protestas. Ahora ya van comprendiendo la realidad del asunto. Otro dato curioso en la Biblia, dice que al final de los tiempos habrán 10 reyes, y esto le darán el reino a la bestia o anticristo, y este sería el rey número 11, esto lo dicen en Apocalipsis 17:12, y en Daniel 7:24, ahora escuchen lo que dicen en Apocalipsis 17:12, y los 10 cuernos que has visto, son 10 reyes, que aún no han recibido reino. Mas recibirán potestad por una hora como reyes con la bestia. Estos tienen un mismo propósito, y darán su poder y autoridad a la bestia. Ahora en Daniel 7:24 dice, y los 10 cuernos de este reino son 10 reyes que se levantarán, y otro se levantará después de ellos. Él será diferente de los anteriores y subyugará a 3 reyes. ¿Ven cómo se puede ver la relación? Claramente, que Dios os cuide a todo, amén.